Thank you, everyone, for being here today. Before we begin, Councilmember Harrison, Councilmember Fort are excused and absent and excused. I'm expecting Councilmember Black in, so she is not absent excused for today, but is for this evening. We will start today with the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilmember Patton, could you lead us? Okay, first item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem has pulled H1. Could I have a motion to approve the remainder?
Move for approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, I pulled H1. It's the North Boundary Street Emergency Stormwater Repair Project. I had some questions about the request for condemnation authority. I spoke to a few neighbors over there. First, they do agree and understand. It's my understanding they understand the urgency of getting the stormwater issue replaced. It's obviously in their backyards and could affect their properties. I think they were a little concerned that the request for the condemnation authority, in case the easements can't be negotiated, makes them feel like perhaps if we granted the condemnation authority now that the negotiation may not happen in good faith. I'm sure that would not be the case, but for someone who negotiates in my day job, I can appreciate that hesitation. And then there were also some other concerns about fences that were destroyed due to the infrastructure and the process they would have to go through to get those replaced. So I think there's just some tension and uneasiness with what's happening. And so my very long-winded question to you is, can we hold this for 2 weeks just to see if we can make some progress and communicate with them a little bit more, and then bring it back if you need the condemnation authority?
Yeah, so Wayne Miles, Stormwater Manager with Engineering Services. Appreciate the question. Yes, I've been in contact and speaking with the property owners on this project. This initiated as a failure of an existing city stormwater pipe in backyards. So we have responded under emergency authorization because there were some structures that were at risk if the pipe continued to fail. So we did get a contractor and an engineer out there. We have stabilized the situation with some temporary repairs, which are working, but it's also been very dry the last couple of weeks. So the reason we are trying to move forward as urgently as possible is there is some risk if we were to get a fairly large rainfall event that it could wash out again and continue to possibly fail and cause some risk to the structures. So our request for condemnation authority is really a parallel process. We intend to and are negotiating good faith with all of the property owners to secure the needed easements. Related to your question about the fence, there's a couple fence issues there. One is because we will be having a new easement, there are some fence restrictions that must be put in place in a permit process so that the fence allows us to get in and do inspections and do maintenance of the stormwater pipe itself. The tricky part is this is also in a historic district, so there are fence requirements for the Raleigh Historic District Commission. We did reach out to commission staff, Historic District Commission staff yesterday, and they've confirmed that as long as the basic design of the fence is the same as was previously approved, that they will not have to go through that permitting process again. So all they will have to do is show us that that basic design that was approved before can be modified to have a gate and be easily removable so that we can get in and do maintenance and inspections of the pipe as needed.
Thanks. I guess my request for the table would be, if we could bring this back in 2 weeks, just 2 weeks to negotiate the easement with them, and if you're not getting anywhere, I would be happy to support the condemnation authority. So that would be my request, is to hold it.
Okay.
That's fine.
Do we need a motion?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we have the report and recommendation of the Planning Commission.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, members of council. My name is Bynum Walter. I work in the Planning and Development Department. I'm joined by the Chair of the Planning Commission, Blaney Miller, and we have a couple of items we're reporting out for you. As usual, a preview of upcoming holidays. This selection runs through January. I want to give a special thanks to the Department of Equity and Inclusion for helping us with our list of holidays. That's a new partnership for us, and we really appreciate them. We have some public hearings already scheduled for your next meeting, the 19th. There are 2 rezonings and a street closure already scheduled. And then just now from the consent agenda, you scheduled 3 annexations for public hearing. At this time, there's nothing scheduled for the first meeting in December. We'll also mention we have had communication from the applicant about one of our public hearings this evening that they anticipate a request to continue to the 19th as well. So just want to make sure we know about all the pieces, right? And there are a lot of pieces. We've brought forward a handful of things from the most recent Planning Commission meeting, giving you an opportunity to set the hearing and discuss these items in this configuration of this body. So 3 rezonings and 3 text changes, and I'll just step through those individually. So a rezoning on Battle Bridge, this is just under 6 acres. Planning Commission recommends unanimous approval. A second item on Diversity Way, also right around 6 acres, going from R10 to RX4. Again, unanimous Planning Commission support. An item on Schaub Drive. If you are feeling deja vu, it's because we have rezoned this parcel in the last 2 or 3 years. Planning Commission has a split vote here. One of the members didn't like the first request, and so didn't like the second request either. And then also concerns about removing the SHOD. Then 3 text changes. This first one is about co-living. Planning Commission recommended approval unanimously, so this would rename what we currently call boarding house to co-living and update the standards. Then the omnibus for 2024, again, unanimous approval from the Planning Commission. And then finally, amendments to the Raleigh Water Public Utilities Design Manual and unanimous approval from the Planning Commission on all of those. What questions can I answer for you before you set
Councilmember
public
Jones, then
hearings?
Branch.
Thank you so much. I have a few questions for the Schwab Drive. I saw that 2 commissioners voted no. Can you, Blaney, let me know why? What was the reasoning for their no votes?
Sure thing. Thank you. Can I open my notes? As our assistant director stated, this was a split vote. There were 2 votes against. One of the commissioners was opposed to the rezoning condition that occurred and was approved about 2 years ago. That condition incorporated a 10-year affordability requirement instead of a 30-year affordability requirement. So he was opposed to the previous rezoning condition that was also then incorporated here as an existing condition. And then the other issue was related to the SHOD, to the Highway Overlay District. That commissioner said that he was comfortable with the idea of increasing height on this site for density purposes, and acknowledged that there was a sound wall in this location. However, he was concerned that it might set a precedent for carving away future special highway overlay districts in rezonings in the area.
Okay. Thank you so much. For this next one, it is text change TC6, and I was wondering, as we update this, it says it's been 10 years since the last update to this manual, and I was wondering, will there be more frequent updates moving forward, like with stormwater, or was that not part of it?
So as I recall, the plan from Raleigh Water is that they would have a regular schedule of updates going forward. I believe they've identified that as a opportunity for improvement as part of this process of developing this.
But we don't know the time frame of it, like how often?
I would have to call on a friend from Raleigh Water in the
I
room.
love that. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, Erica Bailey with Raleigh Water. Yes, moving forward, our intent is approximately every 5 years for updates.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So I have a question on Z2624. It's actually for the applicant. I see Isabel's here. Would you be okay with, I haven't had a chance to talk to you, would you be okay with the December 3rd date for this one? Because I know I've received a number of emails related to your case.
Yeah, we were hoping for November 19th because we'd like to have the existing council vote on it. Just mainly because
Six
of
of us
learning.
are coming back.
Pardon?
6 of us are coming back.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I didn't know that until late last night. But I mean, it's just, I always feel like there's a learning curve when you have new members. And so for that reason, I would rather it stay November 19th. I mean, there's been some neighborhood opposition, but I think when you hear it, it's, it's the usual kind of issues that we're going to be addressing in accordance with city requirements. And
So I say this, I'm willing to keep it on the 19th, knowing that it may get deferred to December 3rd.
okay, I mean, certainly that's always a possibility. We understand that. But it is an affordable housing development, and so
I understand.
the timetables there, are always very critical. So,
Okay.
but thank you, appreciate it.
Let me follow-up question. Do you have any deadlines looming with LIHTC and other things that could be
I
impacted?
can't tell you specifically, and my client's not here today, so I can't tell you that there are specific deadlines that are going to make a difference between the 19th and the 3rd.
Because I think it's senior housing. It's senior housing from what I saw in your email.
Senior affordable, yeah.
Okay. If there's any deadlines for funding, please note that.
Yeah, I don't know of any that 2-week difference would affect.
I'm good.
I'm sorry, I have one more question, not for you, I'm so sorry. I think it's for Growth and Natural Resources or staff. In the omnibus, did we mention the difference between private and public properties in terms of invasive species? I got an email saying that in this omnibus, they only saw the public properties, and I didn't know if that was something that was supposed to be in here that isn't, or if I just missed it.
Good afternoon, Pat Young with Planning and Development. So my colleague Justin Rometta is researching that now to confirm, and we'll advise ASAP. I'm afraid I can't say unequivocally right now.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Do we have a motion?
Move to schedule the public hearings based on the recommendations in the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have special items. The council contingency process, follow-up to that. Shel Millette and Brendan Poole.
Right. Good afternoon, council and mayor. Brandon's a little shy today, so he said he's going to let me do all the talking. So just a really quick agenda. I promise this will be a quick one. I'm going to go over the actions from the October meeting, going to talk a little bit about the contract details as you all wanted to discuss them, as well as a process update, talk about balances and potential action you all can take. All right, if you all recall the October 15th City Council meeting, staff presented some options to you all in order to better instill some accountability and guidance around the disbursements of your annual contingency fund account. Staff was directed to create a standardized process for agencies and organizations to work with your policy analysts prior to your agenda, as well as make a standardized agreement that the organizations could receive their contingency funds and also help execute it. So the contract details, you all have them in front of you. They also were attached in the agenda item for agencies also to get heads up on what they will look like. But just to quickly go over the highlights, the contract itself asks agencies to state how the requesting agency will use the funds, when the requesting agency will need the funds, and also acknowledge that they understand the city's terms and conditions. What we need to remind you all at the table is before it comes to the table, if you'll work with your policy analyst to make sure the agency has contacted them to go through kind of a quick checklist on a few things. One, make sure they are registered for the Secretary of State. They're a 5031C. We have their identification number that matches with that, and also that they serve the residents of Raleigh. The agency will work directly with your policy analyst to make sure that we have all the relevant information, as well as giving them the heads up on the contract they'll be required to sign in order to expedite the process. And then we'll bring back the contract in order for you all to vote and approve. After the approval of the contract, the policy analyst will work directly with those agencies and organizations to get their signature. Once the organization has signed the contract, we'll provide them with the invoice, the amount requested, and how the funds will be distributed to them. The policy analyst will then follow up with them, as you all wanted some accountability, within 30 days of either the event or the program that you all are funding for proof of the fulfillment of the contract. So just a reminder of the balance. At the meeting, you all took action to make sure Mayor Pro Tem's request was processed before you decided to divide the remaining balance. And so you were left with $126,000 left. And so you did also have two requests at that meeting, which was from Mayor Baldwin for $10,000, as well as Councilmember Branch had for $5,000. So if you all would agree today, instead of bringing that item back to you, they could use the contract language that we shared with you. Your agencies have already worked with your policy analysts, and they have completed the checklist. We would expedite that today if you all were comfortable with that.
Mayor Pro Tem?
It was my understanding, and I don't want to create complication, that we were going to include my funding request in the total and take it out of my bucket.
That's not how we understood it, so we apologize if that's it.
I'm fine with accepting another whole bucket full of contingency funding, but I want to be fair, and I do believe we agreed that it was coming out of my bucket last time, which would adjust all these numbers, I think.
I think what my understanding was, and I could be completely wrong, was you didn't want the agency itself, to have to wait through the new process.
That's
so we
exactly
went ahead
right.
and did execute it. And I think we, as staff, assumed that you also didn't want it to come out of the bucket. So the disbursement amount, we can fix.
Part one, yes. Part
Okay.
two, we were going to take it out of my total. But that's the only info I had. Now, if people...
Well, now that does make your buckets bigger. So my next slide is null and void. But we can make your buckets bigger if that is the desire. So we do apologize for misunderstanding that.
I'm fine. Go ahead and moving this forward. I think the bucket thing is an administrative task that can be addressed.
Yeah.
But I think putting the policy in place and moving forward, go ahead and funding these organizations, and we work through the administrative tasks, that's fine. Because all you're doing is taking a bucket of money
Yes.
and putting
Just
a name
re-dispersing it.
by some numbers.
Yeah.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, that was unanimous. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you.
Next, we have the Convention Center Hotel Development Partner Progress Update.
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of council. Evan Raleigh with the manager's update, or excuse me, God, not with the manager's update, with the manager's office. So we've reached another, I'm trying to jump ahead in the agenda clearly. So we are here, we have reached another exciting point in the process to bring our convention center hotel aspirations to reality. And so we are here today with two specific requests of you. Both relate to the establishment, setting up public hearings that will clear the path for the city to pursue issuance of debt for its commitment to the project, and for our private development partners, the Omni team, to pursue their financing for the project as well. But before we get to those specific actions, we did at this point, it's been a little bit of time since you saw this project last. There's been a lot of work on the design front that has been done in the intervening months since we last spoke with you. And so today we have with us members of the Omni team that are going to share with you kind of some updates on the work, the hard work that they, in conjunction with us, have been doing over the last couple of months on the vision for this hotel. And so with that, I would like to introduce to you Mr. Mike Smith. Mike is one of the executive vice presidents with TRT Holdings, which is the parent company for Omni Hotel, and he will introduce the members of his team that are with him here today.
Thank you, Evan. I'm Mike Smith with Executive Vice President of Real Estate and Development with TRT Holdings, and want to introduce two members of our team, Brian Zellman, who leads the development team at Omni, and Laura McCoy, who leads our design and creative team at Omni. And I just wanted to say thank you all very much for having us here and having faith in us to work to develop a convention center hotel in the city. As Evan said, we've worked closely with the city team, and a lot has happened in the many months since we last updated you all. And it's my privilege to ask Laura McCoy to come and tell you about the design and what we've done to date.
Hi, good afternoon. Laura McCoy, Creative Director, Vice President, Interior Design at Omni Hotels and Resorts. And I'm very excited to be with you all today. I know it's been a while since our last presentation. And the last time we were all together, you all challenged me to find a dress that represented the city of Raleigh. So here I am in my dress, City in the Forest. So we've fallen in love with the city as we've spent time here. So going through the presentation. Wanted to take a minute to orient everyone with the site. So as everyone knows, the Performing Arts Center is on the plan south of this presentation. And we have the porte-cochere right now positioned on South Salisbury and South Street with Fayetteville. One large takeaway after we've spent some time working on the project is we moved all of the F&B and activation to Fayetteville. We felt like that continuation of energy and how it comes down towards the Performing Arts Center was really important. So we've relocated all of those as we've worked on the plans. And I'm going to try to go pretty fast through the next few slides. I've got quite a few. Happy to go back and revisit anything that you all might have. So just a quick reminder of where the site is. It's the parking lot on the left that you see on the slide on the screen right now. So this slide represents the rendering of the porte-cochere and South Salisbury and West South Street. One thing that we were really inspired by was the art scene, and so you'll see a couple times that we want to incorporate into the facade local muralists to bring the facade to give it more life. Also on this slide, you'll see the pool deck that's up on the top of the podium. Then this next slide is West South Street and Fayetteville Street. Again, how we're activating this entire street with F&B. We've got multiple restaurants that we'll go through in a second. Above that is the meeting space with a balcony that overlooks Fayetteville Street as well. The next slide is the rendering for West Lenoir and South Salisbury, again with another local muralist we'd like to engage to activate that corridor that's leading you to the convention center. You can also see in this slide, that is the pre-function, the glass above. So there'll be lots of activity that you see through that glass connecting you to the convention center. And then the last rendering that we have is looking back down Fayetteville Street and the F&B and activation that we plan to do on that facade. So the next slide is just kind of how the tower is going to stack with the guest rooms as it goes up the building. There's more information that you will have of like number of suites and the presidential suites, et cetera, that we plan to put on the top floor. And then this slide here just shows the section of the building and how it would stack. So on the bottom, we would have 3 levels of parking. Then on the main street level, the lobby, followed by an interim space of back of house with a spa and fitness center, then 2 levels for meeting space. And then on top of that would be the pool deck with the all-day dining and then continuing to the tower. The next slide we wanted to show is the second floor plan. This is mostly administration space, but then the spa would be on this level along with the fitness center that you see on the left. And then moving up to the meeting room space, we have the junior ballroom, which is approximately 10,000 square feet, and all of the supporting meeting space that all is front and back loaded, so that you get meeting space with natural light. The junior ballroom has natural light and opens up to Fayetteville with the balcony on the side. The grand ballroom, it actually takes up this entire floor. We were able to get almost 20,000 square feet onto this floor and has all natural light in the pre-function, again, opening up with views to the Performing Arts Center as well as Fayetteville. So then the next part that I wanted to go through is, this is kind of our inspiration that we found from the immersion trip and where we see taking the design as we continue to develop the project. We're in concept design right now. The next phase we would go through is schematic design. Take a second to read our concept statement. A city grown from the forest, where harmonious balance between vitality occurs simultaneously and naturally, blurring the landscape of city and serene. The evolving urban landscape softened by the canopy of calm, a duality of towering skyline and towering trees. The continuous growth of the city, much like a tree expanding its branches, intertwined, where skyscrapers and parks flourish side by side, symbolizing the diverse blend of innovation and preservation. The vibrancy of city on the rise, where people, arts, culture, sports, culinary, flair, technology, government, and education seamlessly thrive through the balance of tranquility, occurring naturally in the landscape, parks, topography, approachability, and community. And these were all the things that we found spending time here. And we were just very inspired. We spent time with Shaw University, really talked to everyone about how, what is the Raleigh part of the triangle, and how do we tell the story of Raleigh and separate it out? Everyone knows about the research triangle, but how do we tell Raleigh's story? So we came up with this image about the tree, and growing Raleigh's future is how we were very inspired as we were working through the imagery. The next image that we have is the current lobby design, showing the porte cochere on the left. And I'll go through how we were inspired by creating this promenade as you walk through with a lobby bar and then the F&B all coming off of these spaces, activating Fayetteville Street. So this is our concept imagery for the lobby. And we've talked about how we like to take elements and then interpret them in different ways so that they're not so literal. So the image in the middle left is our interpretation of the tree and how we would take columns in the lobby and make them more modern. And in the ceiling, the forest would be growing down from the ceiling and extending down towards you. And the front desk would be a tree trunk, but it would be an artistic approach to that, and the glass box around it for the check-in. So those are just some of the elements that we were inspired by, as well as when we spent some time at the Natural History Museum, and all of the items that we saw that were floral and fauna, and how they highlighted them in North Carolina, and we think we can do that same thing and then push people towards the Natural History Museum as they spend more time in the city. The lobby bar, again, we were really inspired by the greenery that we saw in the city, but done in a modern way, with social activation and really making this a hub for people to hang out and socialize before and after meetings, as well as spending time here before they go to the Performing Arts Center, and a place to stop before there's a great culinary scene that we experienced, and we want to have people experience all of the restaurants in downtown as well as the restaurants we put into the space. We have a placeholder right now for the specialty restaurant, which would be our higher-end dining, and it would occur, again, on Fayetteville Street, activating that area, pulling you down. We talked a lot about how this could be a place that you go before the Performing Arts Center and enjoy, and then walk across the street for that experience. The other thing that we felt was lacking was a stellar sports bar. We were here during the NBA playoffs, and we thought, what better way to activate the hotel than a sports bar that is really based on technology, almost a sports lounge, and activating Fayetteville and how we can pull people out onto the street and continue that hustle and bustle. Then the Capitol Cafe, it's on the corner of Lenore and Fayetteville in our plan right now, and we wanted this space to touch on the history of Raleigh and the government and some of the things that we experienced in like telling the rich history of the city through artwork and finishes. And then the 3 Mill Restaurant, we're actually putting this up on the pool deck. So we want this space to feel like very vibrant and light and activated. It would be for guests to go up and have breakfast and lunch, and then also use as their outlet as they experience the pool. And in the guest room, this would be like the little haven that's in the forest. So the finishes would be warm and welcoming, and we see a lot of green and texture and wood finishes and tones that would just be very comfortable and luxurious. So then going through how these concept images relate to the floor plan, the lobby would all be activated with that promenade of vitrines that go down the space with the lobby bar at the end. Specialty restaurant is on the bottom right-hand corner. Sports bar is on the center of Fayetteville, and the Capitol Cafe is on the top right. Lobby bar, it's the yellow highlighted area on the plan. It's a little bit hard to see, but how that would be spilling into the specialty restaurant, yet activating the lobby so it stays vibrant all day. The specialty restaurant, which we have positioned on the corner of South and Fayetteville so that it has that direct connection with the Performing Arts Center. Sports bar again on the long side of Fayetteville, just creating that hub of activity. And then Capitol Cafe, you would be able to stop here and then work around the building to go directly to the convention center. And then 3 Mill Restaurant, this is the one that's up on the pool deck. And so this rendering shows where you would exit off the elevator lobby, come straight onto the 3 Mill Restaurant. It has glass on all sides. You'd have views of the city, and the glass opens up to create an indoor-outdoor space, and then comes out directly onto the pool deck that has lots of chaise lounges, cabanas, and a very high-end experience. And then the guest room layout that we have right now has, you walk into the room, the closet and amenities, coffee bar is all on the bottom of the plan, with the bathrooms up at the top. All the rooms would have a standing shower, except for some of the double rooms. And then also in the room we have, this is showing a king-size room with lounge seating at the end that would double as an activity table that looks directly at the TV. So if you wanted to sit up more properly, you could be in the chair and then turn it around if you wanted to work, or just lounge on that sectional sofa to relax a little bit and watch TV. So I know I went fast, but thank you all very much, and let me know if you have any questions.
I just want to say this is beautifully done, and is really going to be a special amenity in the city. Thank you all for really immersing yourself in Raleigh. One thing I wanted to ask was just about the rooms and accessibility for people who have physical or visual impairments.
Of course.
How is that incorporated in?
Those are all, we're meeting all of the state and local codes, so there'll be hearing impaired rooms, visually impaired rooms, and then all of the handicapped rooms. And we're very intentional about making sure that they're dispersed throughout the tower, and they all have like similar views as the other rooms, so that there's no one that would have a disability that would have a room that's lesser than.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Councilmember Jones?
Thank you. Thank you so much for this. So I serve as the liaison for the Raleigh Historic Development Commission, And so they fight for, or try to advocate for preservation of our historic spaces, and we're really a leader in that field. And I'm wondering, with it being a glass box, we have a lot of those downtown, so I'm wondering, was there any emphasis on the historic nature and the fact that we do have a lot of architecturally beautiful buildings that this doesn't seem to hit on? And then, so that's part one. Part two is that I also served on the Parks Board, and we are also a biophilic city. I'm not sure if you knew, that was part of your research, but with that, we want to incorporate environment into design, and I'm wondering if there's any avenue that we could do that here. I want to be able to start, especially it being an Omni, which is amazing, and I'm really, really, really happy that you guys are here, but how can we use this opportunity to highlight those really, really cool things that are about the city that do include nature that you're mentioning, but how do we incorporate nature more into the design instead of just the glass box? I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that.
Yes, so to answer both of your questions, we're really intentional on design that we want to complement the surrounding and not replicate. So we will take elements from the city and then incorporate them like into the facade, like where you see there's like the layer underneath the meeting room space. We haven't picked the actual finishes yet because we're still in concept design. So we'll make sure that they complement the city, but we don't want to take and like try to duplicate the history that's here, but rather play off of that. A good example is the hotel that we built in Louisville, and they have their historic row of downtown, and they were very intentional on trying to keep the steel facade and then build behind. And so we took those materials that were used in those spaces and then incorporated them into the hotel. So it was a nod to the city, but again, not trying to create a historic building that, it was built in today's time. I think biophilic design, we're seeing that a lot in what we're doing, and that will be incorporated into the lobby. And then it's also, there will be a tremendous amount of planting on the pool deck and how we can incorporate biophilia there. And I think we're just scratching the surface since we're in concept design, and would love to meet with you and the groups that you have to like how we can even tell a deeper story as we go in through everything.
I'd love that. I would love that opportunity, because I think this is a really great chance for us to do and amplify the cool things that we are as a city and see it on display in this amazing hotel. Because I'm sure whatever the final design when it gets to it is going to be phenomenal. But I'd like to see a little bit more of that nature in design, and maybe it is, and just be able to explain it so that when residents ask me, I can be like, actually, we're doing this really cool thing there. So I would love to introduce you to those groups as well. Thank you so much.
Councilmember Harrison?
Yeah, thank you for the presentation, and if I missed it, I apologize. I am curious, what Councilmember Jones is bringing up is really important to me, the biophilic kind of aspects here, and I wonder, have you all considered pursuing LEED certification, or what kind of energy efficiencies are you working on?
Yeah, I think we're LEED Silver, right, is the plan?
Glad to hear that.
LEED Silver.
And what are those features that make it so?
You're going to catch me off guard, but I'm happy to follow up with everything that would qualify us to be LEED Silver.
Fabulous. Yeah, we'd like to get that info. Thank you.
Okay.
Councilmember Patton?
Yeah, thank you for this. It's very beautiful. Some of my questions are not really surrounding the interior design, so they might be for your team or for our staff. One bit of feedback we got a lot in our inbox last time this sort of had a media cycle is just lots of concern over the loss of parking because it's currently a parking lot. You showed a three-story parking deck. Some of that will be for your guests, but how much of it, if you know, will be public parking?
Do you want to speak to that, Mike?
The parking lot will be available to the public on the same terms and conditions as a hotel guest, with possible carve-outs if there's a large gala or event or something that's going to use it. We might, there might be a sign from time to time that, doesn't permit public parking, but otherwise, the public can park there.
Okay. So our residents can feel confident they're not they're not having a net loss of parking from what they're currently
No, there'll be
experiencing.
a net gain in parking, and there will be a charge for parking, and there might be times, we haven't got into it operationally, but sometimes we'll operate at valet only, but that member of the public could come up and valet park there, but the public will have the same access that hotel guests do.
Understood. Thank you. And then another question I have, again, not related to the interior design, but I have a background in hospitality work, and we know that hospitality workers are often some of the lowest paid workers in our community. Can you speak to like your intentions, or you have a minimum wage that you're going to offer? What are average wages around your other sites, et cetera?
Our wages are always competitive with the market and the industry. I don't know specifically what they are here, but our wages will be competitive. And what we found usually is that our company tends to push a little bit on the higher side to be able to attract the top level of talent to provide the level of service that we like to provide.
Awesome. Thank you. And then one last one, and this might be for you, Mr. Raleigh. But the action item in the council agenda is that we're setting a public hearing to lend some public dollars for the building of this hotel. So knowing that many of our residents will not stay in this hotel because they are local, can you speak to the public benefits that our residents will experience and why that's an appropriate, why it's appropriate use of the public funds?
Yeah, I think it's a good opportunity to remind the council and the members of the public that are interested the source of funds that support this project. It's the interlocal fund, which is derived from hotel, motel, sales tax throughout the county, and is specifically devoted to supporting projects like this that drive tourism, heads and beds, and really this could be viewed probably most easily in the light of any economic development project that we support as a body. This is very much the same thing, that we are providing support to make this feasible, ultimately with the goal, in this particular case, of supporting the expansion of our convention center, which these are two sides of the same coin. One can't happen without the other. And so they're mutually beneficial. And again, ultimately it's, the fund is derived, or designed to drive additional tourism that creates benefits to our small business community, to our general economic, environment and climate in the city. And so this is very much in keeping with our goal to boost the economic prospects of our community.
And so I think just to put a really fine point on it, because our residents always ask, this is not money that could otherwise have been spent on sidewalks or wages or buses or anything like that.
That's correct, yes. It's very specific restrictions in terms of how these dollars can be spent. That's correct, and not on any of the categories that you named.
Awesome, thank you.
Any additional questions? Okay, do we have a motion?
Yeah, I move it's to set these public hearings, right? Yep. Yes, to set the public hearings for November 19th, 2024.
All in favor? Aye. Councilmember Bell? Okay. All right, that was unanimous. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to see what you've come up with and how you've immersed yourself into Raleigh. This is going to be amazing.
Yes.
Did you want to say one
And
more?
you hit it out the park with the dress.
Thank you. One last thing, we do have a show and tell that I'm going to leave with Evan. That's a box that we've kind of curated of the things that we found and representing. It has a loblolly pine tree that has since may have passed away that's in there, but we were, there's how we were inspired by the city, and we'll leave it for you all.
Okay, thank you.
Many of you may have already seen it if you've come into my office. It was sitting on the table. Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you so much again. Next, we have the report and recommendation of the city manager.
Awesome. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Today, we have 3 items, and item 3 has a Part A and a Part B. So for the first one, we are requesting a public bid waiver, and typically we wouldn't bring this item to the agenda because we have the authority as staff to follow through on the procurement process in this regards. However, this is highlighting an opportunity for Raleigh Fire Department and some additional technology. So we have Keith Wilder here from Raleigh Fire to present this item.
Welcome, Keith. Haven't seen you in a long time.
It's been a while, hasn't it?
Good to see you.
You as well. Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, members of council. My name is Keith Wilder, and I'm the Chief of the Health and Safety Compliance Division for the Raleigh Fire Department. And I'm here before you today to give a high-level presentation of a new product technology that we are seeking to purchase. It's called the Navigator, and it's designed and developed by a company called Q-Wake Technologies. We were personally selected by the Q-Wake company to be part of the Homeland Security's national field trial of this product. 80 departments across the United States were selected, and they were allowed to select about half of those, DHS the other half. And what's unique about this is that Chief Griffin met these folks at a conference, and I guess it was just, they had a really good rapport together. They wanted to come to Raleigh. They wanted to see the city. They wanted to see what's going on here because they're looking to partner with people who are trying to leverage technology and innovation, to increase their abilities and skills. So we're a part of this national field trial, but it's only for 3 weeks. But here's the good part. We were able to get them to come to Raleigh, and they brought their technology, and they gave us an opportunity to assess the technology while they were here. Most of the departments in this group of 80 have not had that opportunity. And they're also looking to pick 10 of those 80, which are going to receive some very special benefits down the road, and we're on a very short list for that. Again, this pilot program allows departments to assess this equipment that has been purchased from them by DHS. Of course, we have to return it, but we want to purchase our own. In the next slide here, you'll see over each photo is an example of what their features of the Navigator are, and I'm going to discuss those as we move along. Before I get started on this, I want to ask you to indulge me for just a moment. I'd like for you to close your eyes for about 20 seconds. I want to illustrate something. When you came in this room, you came in the way you probably come in every time you walk in this room. You've been here many times. Imagine now that this room, the fire alarm is going off, it's becoming pitch dark, and there's also smoke in the air, which is making it difficult to breathe. Most people are going to try to exit through the same door that they entered. That's just a fact of human nature. Although you know this room very well, when firefighters encounter spaces, generally, they've never been in those spaces before, and certainly not under those conditions. Think about how you would get out right now if we had those conditions in this room right now. So the point I'm making here is that this particular technology takes an older existing technology, and there is one correction to the previous slide where it says 20-year-old technology. We've actually had this technology here in Raleigh for a little over 24 years, but it was a military design technology and eventually made its way over around year 2000 to the fire service. And this is the technology here. It's a handheld device. It has a black and white screen, and it allows us to have our eyes in the dark. Now, if we were in that environment that I described to you, which is how it used to be before this technology came to the fire service in 2000, we had to do searches by hand, by feel. We had no eyes in the dark. This older legacy technology, it gave us eyes in the dark. But what this new technology does is it allows us to take an innovation of that technology and provide enhancements to it that also include communications with other users of the product as well as people outside of the environment. In this particular slide, it talks about group and individual communications. If multiple firefighters were to enter into a structure, this device will track any data, will track and create data that is shared peer-to-peer with other users of the device. So for example, Let's say a firefighter entered in through this room, did a quick scan of the room, and they found a victim, and they're trying to get out the same way they came in, but suddenly that exit becomes blocked. What this device will do is it will allow other users' data to be sent to them, and it will map you a way out based on how other firefighters entered the room or the building. Additionally, on the group communications, it allows you to communicate with incident commanders outside the building as well as people off-site. You could be anywhere where you have cellular technology, where you have internet technology, and you can access this data. That's because this all works off of a cellular network. So in the past, we worked off of radios. Thank you very much. We now have new radios that we thank you for very much. Also works off cellular technology, a great enhancement to our communications. But this allows us to not only have eyes in the dark, but also to be able to do different things with that. You see the Mayday feature here. A firefighter can create a Mayday either by activating their accountability alarm on their SCBA, their breathing apparatus, or they can call it over the radio. This also allows you to create a Mayday by communicating that through a button on your helmet. And what it does is it'll also light up your helmet, and it will tell other firefighters where you are to direct them to you, and it also notifies the incident commanders outside the building. If there's a message that the commanders outside the building want to send you, they can send it to you because I think you saw you see in the slide here, this is a heads-up display. This older technology requires firefighters to come in crawling on 2 knees and 1 hand, because they have to clip this to their gear and then lift it up to look where they're going. Whereas with this technology, you could be crawling on 2 hands, which is obviously much faster. And every bit of information you need is right here in front of you, as well as the eyes in the dark that you need. But also it outlines every corner, every angle, everything that you see in this room will have an outline around it, including people, which would also allow for us to identify people faster, because this technology, based on how the temperatures of the room and the body temperature are, they can tend to blend in, and it makes it a little difficult to observe, particularly from, say, a distance as far back as the door behind us. So not only victims of in the fire, we rescue a lot of animals. We're not always rescuing people. It's typically we may pull dogs and cats that are house pets out of these structures that we enter. And remember, we don't know what that structure looks like before we go into it. This is an example of the navigation technology that they have. It will tell me how to get out of the structure the same way I came in, but again, as I mentioned before, it will also tell me how I can get out using peer-to-peer technology from other firefighters if my individual ingress were to be blocked. And then on the bottom page there of the slide, you see where it talks about navigating to a downed firefighter, which I already mentioned. Some of the technology that they're currently working on that will be part of the package that we're trying to purchase is there's also exposure tracking technology where they will track the temperature that you've been exposed to for how long you've been exposed to it. It's a given, anytime there's smoke, there's going to be harmful chemicals in the smoke. Just natural vegetation alone has a high concentration of hydrogen cyanide. So, we're not going to take those things out of the product of combustion, which is smoke, but what we have to do is we have to learn to work smarter. And of course, using this technology to leverage our skills and abilities makes us not only able to enter and recognize things faster, but makes us able to act faster. I talked about victims a little bit, but also water makes everything better. If we can find the seat of that fire quicker by identifying where it started and where it's burning, then of course we can get water on that fire, and as the fire is trying to advance, we can stop that to limit loss to property. So you see the 3 underlined items here: life safety, fire control, saving property. I've touched on each one of those already. These are the goals that Q8 was trying to provide in this technology. But again, an innovation of this older technology added with the invention of their new technologies where they have the communication over the cellular networks. You can see the technology here is called see-through, and it does take us into the next generation of what this technology will become. Again, this is the first technology, what I've just shown you, and we've had it for about 25 years, and we're looking to take advantage of this opportunity to be one of the first fire departments in the United States and potentially first top 10 to have this technology. I will say that, thanks to, a lot of foresight in council and our leaders at department at the time, when we first received this old technology, we were one of only 2 fire departments in the United States that had one of these on every frontline apparatus, which of course made us much more effective at rescues. This is just going to take us to a whole nother level using technology. And again, they were very impressed not just with the department, but with how the city tries to use technology to enhance the abilities of not just the fire department, but everyone in the city. So ultimately, what we're here to ask today is, of course, that you would authorize a waiver of the public bid requirements and to allow the city manager to execute this contract, which is not to exceed $272,600. And with that, I thank you for your time and will take any questions that you may have.
Councilmember Branch?
Yes, sir.
Definitely thank you for the presentation information. I understand this will get us 15 navigators.
Yes.
So my question is, what's the cycle or the plan to increase this number?
Well, of course, that will depend on
Other than money.
availability of funds.
Okay.
That's, of course, the primary availability. The primary issue would be to determine how much funds are available to continue purchasing these. Now, one of the interesting things is that if we are fortunate enough to be chosen as one of their preferred top 10 departments, then we're not only going to be able to continue to renew this technology, we're going to continuously get the most advanced technology from them. Again, as I said, they saw something here in Raleigh where they felt like was not only a way for them to help us, but they also realized this is a good opportunity for them to showcase their company. And by the way, this technology that we're trying to purchase here, it's been in development for over 10 years. And it's a very interesting story how it started. You can go on YouTube and look up a video called Firewalker. The inventor and the founder of this company, that's where he got started. And DHS, Department of Homeland Security, they obviously saw something in this company as well because they gave them about $10 million to help get this thing going.
Okay, so let me ask my question a better way. Has a rollout plan been developed? Because you have 3 shifts at each station. You have more than 30-some stations. So is there a plan developed to increase this year by year?
Thank you, Chief Wilder, first off. Great presentation. Herbert Griffin, the Fire Chief and Director of Emergency Management. Yes, we have a rollout plan. The plan now is only for captains only.
Okay.
That's 1 captain per truck per shift. Because these are removable units that go from helmet to helmet to helmet with the current helmets that we wear now, right? As he said, as funding continues, we want to put 1 on every truck for each personnel that's on the truck. But right now, the captain will actually have the rollout.
Thank you.
Okay. I think this is fascinating technology, and I'm going to make a motion to approve. Oh, seconded by Councilmember Melton. Do you have your hand up to
For
ask a
questions.
question?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, awesome. Thank you for the presentation. I'm super excited about the way this can allow you all to work smarter, not harder, be safer, be more effective in rescuing our residents and their loved ones. As with all technology, there can be pros and cons, right? And one thing I have a wonder about is information security and data sharing. Like, is this recording as part of our contract going to be that we have to share these videos with the company for their future evolution, or what kind of information security?
Only information sharing between the Raleigh Fire Department and the user itself only. We keep the laptops that we have for our fire battalion chiefs, so that's not information sharing with no other department.
Okay. So
Now, it could be subpoenaed if there was a line of duty death. Like anything that could happen, any equipment that we utilize, by law, they could subpoena that information, yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Jones?
Thank you. I was wondering, what are the maintenance costs, or how do you foresee that? If this is $272,600 now, but as we get new and we're maintaining, how do we maintain that?
So all the equipment comes with a 2-year warranty, manufacturer's warranty. Our thing is to have an overage, normally 20% of stock inventory, just for that purpose. But it does come with a 2-year manufacturer warranty. And let me say this, in almost 3 decades of doing this, being a master fireground instructor throughout my career, I've been over 20-something line of duty death funerals on the fire ground. If we'd had this technology 15 years ago, we'd eliminated half of that. I utilized the technology myself in Dallas, Texas, with the actual owner of the company. And one of the things that firefighters face is they get disoriented. Number one, they panic, and they don't know where you're going. This helmet feature, if you saw the arrow, so I put the helmet on, I went the wrong direction on purpose. It vibrates on your head and tells you it's the wrong direction. When you turn the right direction, the arrow turns green. You go the wrong direction, the arrow turns red. This eliminates a lot of risk for firefighters. It eliminates a lot of time for them to go rescues. Search and rescue is the main thing. As response times increase in the city of Raleigh, rescues will become a vital aspect of what we do. This technology will help eliminate that. If I can come in your house and know where your pet is or your kid, see through the walls of this technology, the chances of them living is going to be very high.
And then just one other quick question. Since in 2000 we were one of two, and now we're in the short list for these top 10. Can you help our residents understand why is Raleigh? Why is Raleigh Fire on top of that? Why is everybody like, hey, I want Raleigh Fire to do that? Because I want them to hear your story.
So I asked Sam that myself. He's the owner of the company. When he came here, he says Raleigh is one of the growing and very dynamic cities. And he saw how technology innovation runs now outside the fire department, just this city alone. And that's what they're looking for, growth. Because he says when a city is thriving and growing, there's life there. Mm-hmm. That's our department, it's life.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you.
Absolutely. Lastly, I hate to say this, but it's probably going to be Chief Wilder's last presentation. He will be retiring after 38 years of service to the city of Raleigh on January 1st.
Oh, no.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate that very much. It's been a great career, and I'm happy to have been a part of this team and to have been given a lot of opportunities in life because of my employment with this city. Thank you.
Well, I just want to remember when we first met when I was on council, but one of the things you did, we worked together on this, was put together a training class for city council members, and we all donned the suits. They are heavy. We all went up in the tower. There was smoke. We had on our masks, whatnot. We got to experience what our firefighters experience, and I think after that, there was a lot more respect for what you all do and also appreciation. So I wish we could have done that again, but I'm bummed you're retiring, but I'm very happy for you too in your new life.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
I appreciate it very much. You're definitely the last person left that went through those classes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, well, now we have a motion and a second by Mayor Pro Tem. All in favor? Aye. Okay, that was unanimous. Thank you. Thank you for that presentation, and congratulations again.
Thank you again. Thank you all.
Thank you.
So the next item on today's agenda is an affordable housing opportunity advancement opportunity from the 2020 Affordable Housing Bond. I was looking for Erica. I see her. Erica Brandt with Housing and Neighborhood, and Allison Plant with Planning and Development here to present this item.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Erica Brandt, Housing and Neighborhoods. I'm excited to bring to you today an opportunity that the city is looking to move on to purchase 5507 and 5511 Hillsborough Street for affordable housing development. So to give a little bit of background on how we got to where we are today, back in July 2021, City Council authorized staff to enter into negotiations to purchase properties that meet the criteria of the equitable development around transit plan, namely sites that are located along the future BRT lines. In September of 2022, Council authorized the purchase of 5508 and 0 Western Boulevard, which now I'm realizing my choice of colors makes it really hard to tell which ones are circled, but that's the lower half in the green. Those parcels make a total combined acreage of about 1.66 acres, and we used a little over $1.5 million of 2020 bond funds to purchase that property. In 2023, our real estate division began negotiations with the owner of the adjacent parcels above at 5507 and 5511 Hillsborough Street, which make up about a little under 2 acres. And in August 2024, the contract to purchase those properties was executed, and we began our due diligence period. So the purchase price we're looking at is about $2.5 million. Funding would come from the 2020 bond, again, for these two parcels as well. The due diligence period is ending next week, and the ultimate goal for this total parcel assemblage is to develop affordable housing through a request for proposals process, which would help us to select a development partner. So we're asking today for authorization to move forward with the purchase of these parcels and authorization to execute all of the instruments necessary to close on the acquisition. And we're looking at a closing date tentatively in mid-December. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions? Okay, motion. Oh, I was going to make a motion to approve. You want to do that?
Yeah, I'll go ahead.
All right, I'll second that.
Yeah, motion to approve. Very excited about this.
Me too. Yes, right. Good work. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Councilmember Black? Okay, thank you.
And so I'll just like a shout out to staff on this. When this opportunity became available, we encouraged staff to pursue this one because, again, it carries us into a different part of the city that we don't necessarily look at for affordable housing. So we were really excited about this opportunity. So thank you.
Good work. Thank you.
The next item is our annual comprehensive financial report. It's twofold. So Ryan Bergman out of the city manager's office will tee the first session up and then hand it over to Allison. And then Ryan will come back and tee up the second session of this item and all things financial today.
Thank you. Ryan Bergman, city manager's office. Good afternoon, mayor and council. I'm going to turn it over to Allison Bradsher to present our comprehensive annual financial report. I did want to point out one thing. What you'll see in this audit is a lot of the things that you're probably used to with Raleigh, with the financial strength, a surplus. But one of the other things that you'll see this time is last year, this city council increased the reserve from 14 to 17%. And we were able to achieve that. And so that's probably something that's going to improve the financial strength of this city for the next several years. So I'll turn it over to Allison.
All right. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council, and thank you, Ryan. Allison Bradsher with the Finance Department. It's good to be with you today to present the ACFR. So here is our agenda for today. I'll cover the city's robust financial reporting process, discuss the audit opinion, provide results for the general fund, enterprise funds, talk about our debt portfolio, our long-term liabilities, and cover the external grants that we receive. And then I'll wrap up with our general capital reserves. So before I get started, I really want to say a shout out to the team with a big thank you. This team starts this process in July when the books close and honestly spend countless hours of time. Governmental accounting standards are really complex and this team is very, very dedicated to getting the job done. So I just want to say a huge thank you to the team for their dedication and commitment. We are missing a few smiling faces that were not able to be in the picture. So, the city's financial reporting process. We strive for transparency. That is something that's very important to me, and I take it very seriously. And this chart touches on the touch points during the year where financial data is shared with the public. The process starts with the annual budget, which is adopted prior to July 1st each year. Finance, in collaboration with Budget and Management Services, prepare quarterly reports which provide a status for current year results and include staff commentary. Annually, we publish the ACFR, which is where we are today, and then Finance takes the data from the ACFR and summarizes it into a popular annual report, which is published prior to December 31st. All of these reports are posted on the city's website. And a fun fact, the budget, ACFR, and the popular annual financial report are submitted into the GFOA, or Government Finance Officers Association Awards Program, and the city is referred to as a Triple Crown winner because all three reports receive the award. So the ACFR is the city's financial story, and it is a technical document that must comply to governmental accounting standards. The external audit firm of Cherry Beckard issued a clean opinion on the city's financial statements. April Adams, the Cherry Beckard partner on our engagement, is here in council chambers today. And attached to the agenda is a required document from the auditor and provides details on the audit process. The clean opinion and the city's longstanding GFOA award demonstrate the commitment to fiscal stewardship and transparency. The city was able to meet or exceed financial metrics, provide funding to offset our long-term cost, and maintain the city's top-tier credit rating. So the general fund is the city's primary operating fund, and the chart on the slide shows the amended budget and actuals for the year. The first column is the amended budget, which is just shy of $700 million, and the next column shows the actual revenues collected and actual expenses incurred. Actual revenue collections were 5% higher than the budget, and they were driven by several factors, which include strong property tax collections and sales tax collections, high levels of development activity continuing through the city, and historic interest rates which the city was able to take advantage of during the fiscal year. Expenses utilized 94% of the budget, which is in line with prior results and historical spending trends across personnel, benefits, and operating cost. Overall, the general fund added to fund balance during the year where revenues exceeded expenses by $5.9 million, which resulted in a net gain. The city has 6 operations that are treated like a private business. The chart shows actual revenues collected and actual expenditures paid during the fiscal year. Different than the general fund, these revenues largely come from users who directly benefit from the services provided. Raleigh Water, which is listed first on the chart, is the city's largest business-type operation and is fully funded by users of the regional system. This operation also issues revenue bonds, which allows Raleigh Water to meet ongoing capital infrastructure needs. Excess revenues are used during the budget process to support the capital improvement program. Financial models are used to support Raleigh Water, the Convention Center, stormwater, and solid waste operations. The results are all in line with these financial models. Both parking and convention center utilize small amounts of planned fund balance, and management will continue to monitor operations. Although users primarily support these funds, there are 3 operations that receive revenues from other sources. The sources include general fund support, grants, and the Wake County hospitality taxes. And the level of general fund subsidy is listed as the last row on the chart and totals $24.5 million. Debt financing is a large component of how the city pays for capital projects. Sustaining the city's high credit rating allows for the best and lowest borrowing rates. The city was able to maintain its credit rating from all 3 credit rating agencies for both general government and revenue bonds. As a growing city, we have $2.3 billion in outstanding and authorized debt. The city maintains several debt models to ensure metrics and policies are kept in line well into the future. From the pie chart, you can see that we have a healthy balance of essentially who pays for the city's debt program. We are right at 50-50, with 50% of the debt attributed to ratepayers who use the business-type services, mainly Raleigh Water, and 50% is largely supported by taxpayers, and that includes transportation, parks, and housing capital initiatives. The city manages future costs by actively setting aside funds as a way to pay for its future obligations. The city intentionally funds these obligations to achieve equity over time, to align to when these benefits are accrued and when they're paid. Credit rating agencies pay close attention to our long-term liabilities. The city has 4 funds where a third-party actuary generates reports that calculate the financial burden. The annual contributions to support both current and long-term obligations total almost $80 million for the year. The first operation listed on the chart is the city's share of the state pension plan. In FY24, the city contributed just over $38 million into the fund, which allows city employees to retire with a pension. And this amount is in addition to the funding that each employee contributes. The state manages the program, and while there is a large liability, the plan is almost 83% funded, which is very fiscally strong. OPEB accounts for the city's retiree health benefits, and these are the health insurance costs that the city pays on behalf of retirees and their families until a retiree hits Medicare eligibility. This is by far the largest liability that the city has, just shy of $300 million. And in FY24, the city contributed $22.2 million, and as of the year end, the city was only 28% funded against this obligation. As required by state statute, the city's sworn law enforcement officers receive a separation allowance based upon credible criteria, which allows for a separation payment until age 62. The annual contribution is almost $8 million, and the city's liability for this program is close to $60 million, while assets available to pay for future obligations is right at 14%. And the city is self-insured and operates a risk management fund to pay for claims such as workers' comp, and the city has set aside funds slightly greater than the current liability. Grants are an important element of the funding for the city. The grants audit, commonly referred to as the single audit, looks at 3 components and are shown on the right side of the chart: the financial statements, internal controls, and grantor compliance. During the audit, 2 areas of improvement were noted in internal controls within one federal grant and relate to documentation that was not obtained, which is a programmatic control. The department managing the grant already has a plan underway to strengthen the controls with updated policies, procedures, and checklists. In FY24, the city incurred almost $100 million in grant expense, and the bulk of which relates to transportation and ARPA initiatives. So the year-end close process allows us to calculate fund balance, and the maintenance of adequate fund balance is critical to sound financial planning, which is what Mr. Bergman noted earlier. There is a statutory calculation which is provided by the Local Government Commission, or the LGC. Council did adopt a policy last year to align with best practice recommendation from the GFOA and our peers across the state, and the threshold for the calculation is now 17%, which is approximately 2 months of operating cost. This allows for the city to maintain adequate reserves when compared to next year's budget. And since the general fund did increase fund balance as actual revenues were greater than expenses, the excess above the 17% for this year is $10.9 million. So today, staff is recommending that council accept the FY24 ACFR. And for consideration at a future council meeting, staff will recommend utilizing $3.5 to $4 million to build out an additional floor in the new city hall. And finally, we recommend holding the remaining balance in reserve to be utilized as part of the FY26 budget development. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Councilmember Jones and then Patton.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much. As I was looking through that backup material, I just had 2 small questions, and everything looked really good, so that's exciting, as always. But there was 2 places that it said significant deficiencies, and I just wanted to add a question as to why. One of them said no control to ensure weekly certified payroll was being completed, and I was wondering why. And then the second one was that city was not completing housing quality inspections on a timely basis. And again, I was wondering why.
Sure, yeah, and that was a part of the single audit. I just pulled that slide back up, and ultimately, the department that was managing this federal grant just did not obtain the documentation associated with a vendor's payroll wage and also whether a housing inspection had actually been completed. We found out that the reason why it isn't a compliance item is because we were still within regulations, meaning the wage report was accurate and paid timely, and the housing inspections were completed. We just didn't obtain that documentation as timely as we should have.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Councilmember Patton?
Hi, thanks for this. Glad everything appears to be on the up and up. I have a couple of questions. The capital reserve recommendations. So you're saying pull a small part out for an additional floor in City Hall, and then the remaining six-ish million dollars would just be rolled over. Is this inclusive of sales tax revenue?
Yes. Yes.
And is this the fund that we had used in the past for one-time employee bonuses?
We have used that in the past. This go around, I think we're recommending that the balance remain in the 26, for the 26 budget development.
To help with the implementation of the compensation and classification study.
Yeah, if I can add, one of the things as we're going through budget development, what's unique this year is we have the class and comp study, which we know the results of that are probably going to need 2 to 3 years of phasing in. So having reserves available as we develop that FY26 budget allows us to potentially phase in actions in a way that employees are still getting more funds early. But the Part B that the city manager mentioned, there is something we are going to recommend for employees from existing resources in a minute.
In a minute, okay. And when is the class and comp study going to be complete? Or
Well, it's something that we plan on talking with council about at probably both the February and the March budget workshops that we have. So it's something we are going to be complete with for budget development this upcoming year.
And then switching gears a little bit, can you go to the slide with the pension information? Yes, this one. And forgive me, you've probably explained this to me a number of times, but if you could again. So the Elgers is 82% funded, which you said is a very strong positioning, but the OPEB and the LEO are less so. Can you help me understand the difference in why?
Yeah, I can certainly take a crack at it. Really, as I said, in order to fund these at a much higher percent of the liability is going to cost the city more from an ongoing budget perspective. And so when you sort of total those across, it is almost $80 million that we're already allocating to these 4 plans. So these are very expensive, both from a current perspective, but then funding for the long term. We do our best to slowly chip away at that liability. A liability is a moving target. It changes depending on healthcare cost, mortality tables, things of that goes into actuarial reports. So I will say for the last several years, we have looked to fund more to OPEB and LEO than the actuary recommended as a part of the budget process. So I think the net message would be, we're doing our best to slowly chip away at those dollars.
Sure. Is there like, I'm sure you've weighed, or is there what are the pros and cons of potentially funding the Elgers less so those other ones become more even? Or
Yeah, and so the state dictates what our funding is required for Elgers. So that kind of column there, if you will, both from the city perspective as well as the employee perspective is given to us. We don't have a decision relative to how much we fund there. The other 3 is really more internal to our budget development process.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Great report.
Thank you.
So the second part of that presentation is, you will recall back in the fall, actually this time last year, we were talking about some ways in which we could continue to remain competitive in the workforce and in the work market. And basically what we did was offer up some recommendations that came through the FY25 budget that you guys approved, but additionally in looking at further opportunities to make sure that our newer employees became vested in a way that they saw that they were being appreciated beyond a paycheck, so that they could become our tenured employees, because the workforce of the future doesn't look like the workforce of the present. And so with that, I've worked with staff in HR and finance and budget to bring forward a recommendation. So we have, again, Ryan Bergman here to bring forward a recommendation to address that.
Well, all my good material just got stolen, so.
I'm sorry.
So one other thing that I'll add is we're excited to recommend a program that can be implemented immediately with utilizing existing resources, but also done in a way that slightly changes how a continuous service program has been done in the past, in a way that benefits all of the workforce and not just some of the higher earners. So with that, I'll turn it over to our HR Director, Charnel Jones.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Councilor. It's an honor and a pleasure to be before you today to present to you the new enhanced longevity program called the Continuous Service Incentive Program. For today, I will talk about the purpose of longevity programs, the considerations that was taken into account for this particular program, the current award for service program, and then our new guidelines, the program design and implementation. There were several things, sorry, I jumped ahead. The purpose of longevity programs is aimed to reward employees for their loyalty to the organization, as well as value their experience and service. Considerations that were taken into account for this longevity program was we wanted to make sure that we recognize milestone years as well as yearly service recognition. We took into account the existing budget resources, as well as HR received input from the Public Safety Collaborative and the Employee Experience Collaborative. This is our current award for service program, and this program was sunset on July of 2011. And as you can see, it was more so based on a percentage. Most of the employees are in that 10 years for being hired after July 1 and receiving the 2% if they were hired before 2011 or came before 2011. And then there are employees that are still in the category for 4.2% if they were hired before June 30th of 1993. And so those employees still receive that award if they came before 2011. Before we get into the program, just want to remind you, just want to talk about the guidelines for the program. Active employees that have been employed for at least 3 years of continuous service and they are permanent full-time employees, as of November 30th, if they are still employed, they will be eligible for this continuous service incentive. The program is based on your approval and, of course, available funding. The continuous service incentive does not replace the current award for service program. Employees can still continue to participate in that program if they so choose to. If they want to move into the continuous service incentive program, they will have the opportunity to opt out of that program. And as you see listed, this is the program design. It starts at year 3 and continues to years 30 or more. It starts at $500 and goes all the way up to $3,000, not $300. And then it is also based on going up each increment of $250. You can also see the number of employees that are eligible for this program. This does not include the number of employees that are in the current award for service program. The current award for service program costs around $2.6 million. If you add that cost plus the continuous service incentive program, we're talking around $4.4 million. And so the amount needed for this particular longevity program will be the $1.8 million. Employees will be notified by the Loop and CoreCon, as well as HR will host information sessions to let employees know about this program if it's approved. We will also give employees the opportunity to opt out of the Awards for Service program if they so choose to, and to opt into the Continuous Service program. They will have until November 29th to opt out of the program, and then employees will receive their award on December the 20th. Questions?
Do we have any questions? Okay.
I just want to say thank you. I think it's a good step. I actually do have one question, just for clarity. Every employee will move into the new program, and they have the option to opt back to the old. Is that the way I'm understanding it?
So, any employee that's in the current Awards for Service
Current
program stays in there. They
Stays
will have to
there.
complete a form to opt out of that program and opt into the Continuous Service program.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
And employees must have 3 years of service, full-time service, to be eligible.
Okay.
Okay. Councilmember Patton?
Yeah, hi. So this is a yearly lump sum paid to the employees?
Yes.
At the amount shown? Okay, and when is that payment paid out to them?
December 20th,
December
if you
20th.
approve.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Jones?
So in comparison to what was, because I know this is replacing the bonus that we did last year, what was the bonus for someone?
This is
in
not
year-
replacing the bonus.
It's not
this year.
replacing
This
it.
is
Oh, I
continuous. So once you all approve this time, it will go forward continuously in the budget process where you all will have to approve. So this is a new longevity program that will continue to happen year after year for employees. So it's not a one-time bonus.
Got it. Okay, I was confused. What were we saying earlier that we said, oh, wait, we had this in place of? That's why I think I got
No, you will
confused.
recall last year, I talked about several different opportunities to enhance our recruitment and retention strategy, and this is one of the things that was one of the goals that I talked about, and this is one of the programs that was listed in those goals.
In addition to, so if we, with reserve funding, whatever, we wanted to give a bonus, that would be separate then?
Yeah, that's
this is-
totally separate. We just did merits last month.
Right.
And this would be a program that would be ongoing. And currently, right now, we have employees that were prior to 2011. They get an award for service every year in December. Those hired after 2011 do not. So this is kind of leveling the playing field so that everybody would get some type of continuous service or longevity, whichever one you want to call it. And for those that would exercise the option to opt into the new program, it would probably be those that are in the 1%, because over time, it would benefit you more to go to the new program. But those that have 10 years plus service in the old one that are getting 4%, they're not leaving those programs. Those are your higher paid employees that have been here with longer tenure. And at the beginning of December, they get a payment separate and apart from merit and everything that's 4% of their annual salary.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Okay, you need a motion?
Yes.
So
for
moved.
approval. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, that was unanimous. Thank you. Thank you for that.
And that concludes my report today.
Thank you. Yeah. All right, next we have the report and recommendation of the Raleigh Historic Development Commission.
Good afternoon, Tanya Tully, Planning and Development. I have with me Rob Allen, the Vice Chair of the Raleigh Historic Development Commission, to give you a report.
You can just click the mouse or the arrow.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Rob Allen, Raleigh Historic Development Commission. I'm Vice Chair of the Commission. Appreciate you seeing me this afternoon, having us on the agenda, and taking a look at our annual report and work plan for the upcoming year. So to begin, who we are a 12-member City Council appointed commission. Most of you we've spoken with. But we're supported by 3 full-time staff and by Councilor Jones. Thanks for attending so many of our meetings this year. Really appreciate your support. Our chief obligation is to uphold the RHDC mission to serve as your official historic preservation advisory board to identify, preserve, protect, and promote Raleigh's historic resources. We oversee more than 180 historic landmarks and 8 historic overlay districts, or HODs. Our commission is made up, in fiscal year 2024, we've seen 114 certificates of appropriateness, or COAs, and 87 of those were reviewed by staff. 27 of them were reviewed or seen in this room under our Certificate of Appropriateness Committee meetings, which are evidentiary hearings that meet once a month. The next couple slides will go through a few of our subcommittees. We've got 4 or 5, depending on the cycle we're in, subcommittees. But starting with the Research Committee is a subcommittee of RHDC. And that committee helped complete a study for Black heritage and historic places between 1945 and 1975. They also placed the Biltmore Hills neighborhood on the NC study list, which is the first step for listing it on the National Register of Historic Places. The Research Committee also designated the William Henley Dietrich House as a Raleigh Historic Landmark. The Community Awareness Committee celebrated Preservation Month earlier this year in April with a historic bike ride in partnership with the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission. They presented plaques to 3 property owners of recently designated Raleigh Historic Landmarks in what is now part of the annual Sir Walter Raleigh Awards program. And then they continued their ongoing social media campaigns. So for fiscal year 2025, we'll go through a few of our goals, but they are largely centered around education and outreach. And this work plan was approved on September 23rd of this year. The work plan includes outreach at events like those recently at the Sir Walter Raleigh Awards for community appearance, where we presented plaques to property owners. We will also continue to celebrate Preservation Month and continue to hold the historic bike ride. It was really great turnout. I think we had 60, 80 people from the public attend. It was really great on a Saturday morning, visit some historic sites around Raleigh. We're working to improve our Certificate of Appropriateness application process, and we're starting to work on historic overlay district guidelines for each of the 8 HODs. So each district will have its own kind of specific guidelines to help us guide us through the process a little better. Also in fiscal year 2025, we're working on a new initiative to facilitate the preservation of Black churches in Raleigh. We plan to host a 2-part series of events to build relationships with pastors of Black churches across Raleigh, share information about the National Trust Preserving Black Churches grant program, and also about general information related to historic designations. We'll also have upcoming preservation reports for review and adoption for the LGBTQIA+ Historic Context Phase 2 report, which is in a final draft format currently, and the Biltmore Hills National Register nomination documentation, and then we'll continue these other routine work items listed here in this final slide. Again, appreciate your time and welcome any questions. Thanks for all your support.
Okay. Any questions? Good. Good job. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
We do need a vote for you to.
approve.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do we have a second?
I was going to let Councilmember Jones make the motion, and I'll second it.
I move to approve the work plan for the next year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that was unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right, next we have the report and recommendation of the Economic Development and Innovation Committee.
Thank you. We have one item to report out. The Economic Development Innovation Committee recommends reporting the item out with a recommendation for staff to undertake the following actions. And this is our economic development roundtable with our HBCUs. So there's a few things. One, we want to explore potential partnerships with St. Aug for purchasing or leasing surplus land for purposes of affordable housing. I think that's actually supposed to be St. Aug and Shaw. Basically, they both have land that they may be interested in selling. And we would like for the city to see if we could partner in purchasing it or leasing it so that we could have affordable housing there. So that's the first recommendation. The second is to work with Shaw and St. Aug to explore federal grant funding opportunities and partnerships for those opportunities. Discussion we had in committee was that there's some federal money that's being left on the table because there's not sort of a coordinated effort to seek it through grant writing. And if the city could be more of a leader or partner on that in collaboration with the HBCUs, then we may be able to get them some additional funds from the federal government. And then the third was to explore partnerships to establish a fund structure similar to the Mayor's Racial Equity Initiative in Charlotte. Charlotte created a fund. They put some of the city money in it and then a lot of private money to support their one HBCU in Charlotte. And so we had a discussion at committee about what could that look like in Raleigh. We do not have the type of corporate giving that they have in Charlotte. So the scale of our initiative will likely be different. We also have 2 HBCUs. Charlotte has 1. So, but we do think it's something worth exploring. And so we would recommend that the manager's office look at this and bring back some recommendations. So those are the 3. Councilmember Fort wanted me to add that she is in full support of these recommendations. I will also personally add that she's been a fantastic partner in this work. We have each met with leadership of the HBCUs prior to this issue ever coming to committee. That's how it came to committee. And so it's unfortunate she can't be here today. She's in court working on Wednesdays, but she's in full support. So those are the 3 recommendations. So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
No items pending, no meeting.
Okay. Thank you. Growth and Natural Resources.
Thanks. Our committee received an update from stormwater staff on the current USGS stream bank study, as well as all of our stormwater stream restoration and stabilization programs. We learned that the USGS study will be complete in early 2025, and then we're going to have some really great LiDAR data so that we can examine the health of our stream banks throughout the city. So it's going to give us some great information come next spring. And with the conclusion of that study to come, the GNR committee recommended that staff explore options for additional protections for unstable stream banks in Raleigh. So looking at both programmatic and regulatory protections. These protections would be in addition to the existing Neuse River buffer rules. For example, Cary has an additional 50-foot buffer, and I would ask that additional protections are considered for stream banks with steep slopes at low angles, which are particularly prone to erosion and then cause loss of land, flooding, and water quality impairments. So my motion is that staff provide City Council a report with options and recommendations for potential regulatory changes back to the full council at a date to be determined. I don't know if that can be in the next 6 months or if there's anyone from staff. I see a thumbs up. That would be great. Thank you.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, that was unanimous as well. Thank you. Next is Safe, Vibrant, Healthy Community Committee. We recommended reporting this particular item out. It was cottage courts and tiny home garages, external text change request. However, we did ask staff to bring back information to the full council market data regarding buyer preferences for products with 1 or 2 car garages, and also work with the applicants to create a compromise language in the text change to address accessory structures, stormwater runoff, mitigation, and maximum building footprint for presentation as a special item at the council's November 19th meeting. It was a very positive meeting. I think we learned a lot, and I'm looking forward to see what staff brings us back. So that is the motion. Do you have a second? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, that was unanimous as well. Thank you.
So Transit and Transportation did not have a meeting. We have no pending items, and we have no meeting this month.
Oh, yes, and we have no meeting either. So, okay. All right, next we have report from the mayor and city council. Councilmember Harrison, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. I don't have any prepared remarks, but I just want to thank everyone who has been part of the election process this year. It's been a long haul for many of us who have been volunteering and working on campaigns and running our own campaigns. And I just want to thank everyone here on council for your collegiality, your the partnerships that we have on this council. I look forward to serving with many of you in our next term. And, for anyone who's feeling challenged today, I'll just say I'm with you. It's a hard time looking at some of these races, depending on where you sit. And, I'm just feeling a little heavy today.
Councilmember Jones?
And thank you. I also don't have a lot. We have our next community meeting next Wednesday at La Cucina Cafe or Italian restaurant on Glenwood Avenue from 6 to 8 p.m. So please come out and join us as we discuss council business. And thank you for an election season that is finally over, and we can now get back to work. So thank you.
I just want to go ahead and give a happy Veterans Day to all the veterans out there, and thank you for your service as we celebrate Veterans Day on Monday as a holiday, but hopefully some of y'all can enjoy your entire weekend. That's all I have.
Councilmember Patton?
Yeah, some good work that we did through the consent agenda. We authorized a ground lease for the Parkside Affordable Housing Development, which will be 144 affordable units. We received several grants for public safety investments, $20,000 in grant funding for financial empowerment for youth through the Youth Summer Employment Program, funding from DOT to replace the Shelley Road Bridge, and we awarded the bid for the Worthdale Park stream restoration. So that's all good work that's plugging along that you didn't see a presentation for. And like several of my colleagues, I just want to always just want to thank all the helpers that we're always surrounded by. And while there's lots of folks who have spent the last several months advocating for a candidate or a position that they're really passionate about, I think there's just also a huge apparatus of people who just make democracy happen. So we had community center directors allowing the whole election process to go on in their space at the, to the impact of their programming, and they did a wonderful job. Shouts to Abbott's Creek Community Center, they did a great job. But there's election workers and election officials and parking attendants and just like a whole group of people dedicated to keeping our democracy flowing forward, and I'm really grateful to all of them.
I only got 2 hours of sleep last night, so I don't really have much to add. I do want to say that happy anniversary to my husband. It was our 3-year wedding anniversary last week. We did not really get to celebrate much because I was very busy. But sort of elevating that visibility seems important right now. So happy anniversary.
Thank you. Happy anniversary. That was quite the wedding, too. Yes. All right, I have 3 items, and I didn't get much sleep either. So first off, I want to really extend congratulations to Janet Cowell for being elected as our next mayor. Janet has significant experience, but having served on city council, then as state senator, and then as treasurer. So I think she'll bring that necessary experience and knowledge to Raleigh, and I'm very grateful to see her in that role and me being able to pass that off to her. So I look forward to a collaborative relationship and helping her get her footing, but also her working with all of you to move Raleigh forward. Really important decision that was made yesterday locally. Not only that, but with the council members as well. Congratulations to all of you. So that was first item. The second item, the Raleigh Housing Authority, I have been notified that there are two folks whose terms are up. And Greg Warren, I am going to appoint him for a one-year extension. Terms here are 5 years. But he has agreed to serve for 1 year. I want to see that continuity as they continue. Greg, for those of you who don't know him, was head of DHIC for many years and has credible experience in developing affordable housing communities. And as they kind of reinvent themselves and whatnot, I think that will come in very handy. And then Eric Braun was recently elected chair, and I'm going to appoint him to the next, to a full 5-year term. So again, we have continuity in place. And just a reminder, this, according to charter, is a mayoral appointment. So for the record, I just want that down there, that those two appointments have been made. And then the third item is notification that we'll be canceling the November 12th work session and meeting due to a lack of quorum. And I'm asking the appropriate staff to notify the public. So, City Manager, if we could get that taken care of. Okay, thank you. And that's it for me. Now we have appointments.
Good afternoon. Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission, 1 regular vacancy. Catherine Clement received 7, this is not staying up, 7 votes, so would be appointed. Civil Service Commission, 1 regular vacancy for your at-large slot. Charles Till Jr. received 7 votes, so would be appointed. Human Relations Commission, 2 alternate vacancies. Kyle Compton received 7 votes, so would be appointed. And lastly, under appointments, Police Advisory Board, 2 alternate vacancies. Tiana Morgan received 7 votes, so would be appointed. And Councilmember Melton nominated Thomas McBrayer, so that will be coming back to your next ballot.
If it's okay, I'd like to move to suspend the rules and go ahead and appoint Thomas. He was previously pending for another slot.
Right.
He has a strong eagerness to serve. I've spoken to him. He's very eager to serve in the Police Advisory Board, and that would bring them to a full board. So I would move to suspend the rules and go ahead and appoint him today.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, he's appointed then. Thank you.
Next, nominations. The only item here, there are 2 terms on the Fair Housing Hearing Board expiring. One for Chalisa Williams, and who's not eligible for reappointment due to length of service, and the other is Astrid Taylor, who does not wish to be considered. Ms. Williams currently serves on the board's required tenant renter slot. The council adopted an ordinance a few years back to require that. Did check with staff, and there are no other members that meet that eligibility on the board, so it would be appropriate for one of the new appointees to be eligible there. So we'll bring that back, and for that one, I'll actually kind of separate it out, tenant slot and the other one.
Okay. All right, thank you. Next, we have the report and recommendation of of the city attorney.
No report.
Okay, city clerk.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. You received minutes in your agenda materials for your consideration to approve.
Move for approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that was unanimous as well. Thank you so much. All right, next we have closed session. A motion is in order to enter closed session pursuant to GS 143-318-11A3 to consult with the city attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege and to consider and give instructions regarding the handling and or settlement of a potential claim in the following matters. City of Raleigh versus Holly Lane Condominium Homeowners Association, Glen Peace doing business as the Village versus City of Raleigh, and 3222 LLC versus City of Raleigh. and GS 143-318-11A4 to discuss matters relating to the location expansion of industries or other businesses within the city, including consideration of economic development incentives that may be offered by the city and negotiations. Do you have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay. All right. B, entering closed session.
We have just returned from closed session where the council provided direction to staff on the items listed in the closed session motion. Specifically, staff was given direction on a proposed economic development incentive and directed to set a public hearing on the incentive for November 19th. Council will reconvene at 7 p.m. Thank you.